Being able to create charges and payments in iClass Pro provides the basis for financial reporting. Over the next 2 lessons, we will cover the various functions related to these tasks. We will look at creating charges first. Before you can create charges in iClass Pro, you need to create charge categories. Charge categories are labels you create to designate what a particular charge is for, such as January tuition, competition fee, or a specific item such as leotard. Take some time to think about exactly what you need to know for your financial reporting and create the charge categories you need under Settings, Setup, General Settings, Charge Categories. Pro tip: use the expiration date function to make old charge categories stop appearing on your drop-down menus. This leaves them in the system for financial reporting purposes, but you don't have to scroll past them when creating new charges. Once you have the charge category set up, you are ready to create new charges. This can be done in several ways. Individual charges. These are charges created directly on a family ledger using the New Charge button. The charge date is when a charge is considered to be live, meaning that payments applied to it will show up on your financial reports. Until the charge date arrives, any payments applied towards the charge will show as unapplied on your financial reports, since the charge technically doesn't exist yet. On the charge date, an adjustment will be reflected in your program deposit split report, showing the payment moving from unapplied to being applied to the correct program. If the family showed an unapplied payment on other financial reports, they will no longer show after the charge date. The due date is used by the system to define when a charge is considered late if no payment is applied to it. The due date is also used when running the payments task to help determine which charges should be considered when collecting payment. We will cover this in more detail in the payments section. The early bird date can be used in conjunction with tuition charges to give a reduced tuition cost if paid by that date. After that date, the tuition will revert to the full amount. Note that the early bird discount must be defined on the Special Discounts tab of the discount schedule used by the class or camp for this to work. Next, you will choose a line item type. Based on the line item type you choose, you will follow these steps to create the charge. Class tuition. This item type is used when creating a charge tied to a particular class enrollment. The program will be automatically populated based on the program attached to the class, and the amount will automatically populate based on the tuition attached to the enrollment, although this can be manually edited if needed. Camp tuition. This line item type is used when creating a charge tied to a particular camp enrollment. The program will be automatically populated based on the program attached to the camp, and the amount will be automatically populated based on the tuition attached to the enrollment, although this can be manually edited if needed. Anniversary. This line item type is used when creating an anniversary fee charge. You will need to manually select the program and charge category for the charge, but the amount will automatically populate based on the amount specified under Settings, Setup, General Settings, Anniversary Charges, or any anniversary fee override associated with a family or student. This amount can be manually edited if needed. Important note: anniversary charges must use the anniversary line item type to be recognized as such by the system. Creating an anniversary fee charge using any other line item type may result in the family or student being charged again. If the charge is created through the customer portal or using the Anniversary Charges task on the Transactions menu, it will use this line item type automatically. Other. This line item type is used to create a general charge. You will be able to specify the program and charge category for this charge and manually set the amount. Discount. This line item type is used to record a discount that is applied to the all line items within the same charge. Promo code. This line item type is used to record the use of a promo code. Note that the promo code line item must be created first and saved. Then you will need to add a new line item for the actual tuition charge. Once you finish adding the information for a specific charge, click Add a line item if you need to add an additional line item, such as a discount or a tuition charge if you chose promo code. Once all line items are entered, you can click Save to add the charge to the ledger, or Save and Make Payment to save the charge and launch the new payment window. Group charges, mass charges. Group charges or non-tuition charges that need to be applied to all students in a particular class or program. You can create a group charge from either the Students or Family screen, depending on whether you want to create one charge per student or one charge per family, respectively. Set your enrollment status filter to Active to limit the results to currently active enrollments. Failing to do so will result in a charge for every student or family who has ever been enrolled in the class. If you are adding a group charge for enrollments that have not yet started, change the Active On date to a date when the enrollments will be active. Use the All Classes or All Programs filters to select the class you want to charge. This will show only students or families with active enrollments in that class or program. Click Select All, then click the icon in the toolbar at the bottom of the screen that looks like two stacks of coins. This will launch the New Charge window. Fill out the New Charge window as you would if you were charging a single family. When you click Save, it will create the same charge on all of the students or families you had selected. Class Tuition Charges. The Class Tuition Charges task is used to charge all students enrolled under a specific billing schedule at one time. To access the Class Tuition Charges task, click on the Transactions button on the right-hand side of the blue toolbar at the top of the screen. The menu will default to Class Tuition Charges, since that is the first item on the menu on the left-hand side of the screen. To create Class Tuition Charges, choose the charge category that will be assigned to the charges that are created. Choose the billing schedule that you are creating charges for. Only students with this billing schedule attached to their enrollment will be charged when you process the task. So if you have multiple billing schedules attached to your classes, you may need to run this task multiple times to be sure that all students get charged. From the Student Active filter, choose the option that best matches your guidelines for enrollments to be considered. In the month of, we'll look at enrollments within the specified month, and we'll ignore all enrollments that drop before the date range or start after the date range. We generally recommend this option if you bill based on the calendar month. Within the range of allows you to specify a start and end date for the enrollment window, and will ignore all enrollments that drop before the date range or start after the date range. We generally recommend this option if you bill by sessions or rolling sessions. As of date allows you to specify a specific date and will ignore all enrollments that drop before the date or start after the date. Specify the charge date and due date of the charge that will be created. If you have an early bird discount defined on the Special Discounts tab of the discount schedule used by the classes you are billing for and wish to enable it, check Allow Early Bird Discounts and specify the early bird date. If you charge tax for tuitions, check the Charge Tax box and choose the appropriate tax rate. Prevent Duplicate Charges is generally enabled so the system will check to see if a student has already been charged for a particular enrollment using the charge category you specified in Step 1. By default, All by Enrollment and Charge category is selected. If you reuse charge categories every year, you may wish to use the Within the Past drop-down menu to change this window to 6 months. Once all of your options have been entered, click Preview to generate a class tuition charge preview. Depending on the number of charges, this may open automatically, or you may receive a message that it has started as a background task to allow you to keep working while it is being generated. If you receive this message, just click on the Background Tasks icon in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen to open it. Then click on the task result to open the preview in a new tab. When the preview opens, you will see a list of all families, students, class enrollments, and the amount they will be charged. Any student with a tuition override will be noted. Any duplicate charges the system detects will also be noted. and that enrollment deselected by default, so they won't be charged again. Next to each tuition charge is a drop-down arrow. Clicking on this will expand the tuition to explain how the system arrived at that moment, showing any blackout dates, discounts, and how the student was ranked for discounts. If you find any discrepancies, you will need to edit the enrollment or class to correct them. Then generate a new class tuition charges preview so the system will use the latest updates when calculating prices. You can also download this preview as a CSV file to open in your spreadsheet software. If you do make changes, it is a good idea to delete the previous preview from the background tasks so it is not accidentally opened and processed instead. Once the preview looks correct to you, you can process it by pressing the Process button at the bottom left-hand side of the list. When you process the preview, it places the charges on the family ledger but does not collect payments. Camp tuition charges. The Camp tuition charges task is used to charge all students enrolled in a specific camp at one time. If the student has already been charged for their camp enrollment, they will not be charged again. To access the Camp tuition charges task, click on the Transactions button on the right-hand side of the blue toolbar at the top of the screen. On the menu on the left-hand side of the screen, choose Camp tuition charges. To create Camp tuition charges, under Billing Type, choose the appropriate option for the type of billing you want to do. Choosing Full Unbilled Amount will charge everything still due on the camp enrollment. Choosing Deposit Only will create only a charge for the deposit amount, if this amount is specified on the camp pricing schedule and Deposit Due Only is enabled as Amount Due at Sign-up in the camp payment settings. Choose the charge category that will be assigned to the charges that are created. For the Active As of Date filter, enter a date when the camp enrollment will be active, usually the first day of camp. Specify the charge date and due date of the charge that will be created. If you select Bill Only Selected Camps, the system will show a list of all camps that will be active on your Active As of Date, and you will be able to select only certain camps to charge. Otherwise, the system will create charges for all camps active on that date. If you have an early bird discount defined on the Special Discounts tab of the pricing schedule used by the camps you are billing for and wish to enable it, check Allow Early Bird Discounts and specify the early bird date. Note that there is no option as to whether or not to charge tax. This option is set on each individual camp, and the system will charge, or not charge, accordingly. Once all of your options have been entered, click Preview to generate a camp tuition charge preview. Once the preview looks correct to you, you can process it by pressing the Process button at the bottom left-hand side of the list. When you process the preview, it places the charges on the family ledger but does not collect payments. Late charges. The Late Charges task is used to assess a charge to all families with unpaid charges that have passed their due date. To access the Late Charges task, click on the Transactions button. Choose Late Charges. To create late charges, enter a late fee description. This description will be used as the charge title for the charge that is created. Choose the charge category, an income program that will be assigned to the charge that will be created. Enter the amount of the fee to be charged. Under Fee Type, choose the appropriate setting for how you want to charge the fee. Charge a single flat fee per family. This option will charge the fee once per family, regardless of the number of active students in the family or number of charges that are overdue. Multiply fee by active students. This option multiplies the fee by the number of students in the family with an active enrollment, regardless of the number of charges that are overdue. Multiply fee by overdue charges. This option will multiply the fee by the number of overdue charges, as defined by the Late Fee Search filter. Specify the charge date and due date of the charge that will be created. Under Late Fee Search, choose the appropriate setting for how you want to match late fees. Charges that are overdue. This option will look for any fee that is overdue, regardless of the charge category. Charges and Charge Category. This option will look only at fees using the charge category you choose. Set the minimum overdue charge amount. Any charges that have less than this amount outstanding will not be considered for a late fee. Once all of your options have been entered, click Preview to generate a late charges preview. When the preview opens, you will see a list of all families, the number of active students, how much they owe in overdue charges, and how much they owe in total, and how much they will be assessed for a late fee based on your settings. Once the preview looks correct to you, you can process it by pressing the Process button at the bottom left-hand side of the list. When you process the preview, it places the charges on the family ledger, but does not collect payments. Anniversary Charges. The Anniversary Charges task is used to assess a charge to all active families or students who have not been charged an anniversary fee within the anniversary time frame you have set up under Settings, Setup, General Settings, Anniversary Fees. The task will charge once per family or once per student, depending on your settings. To access the Anniversary Charges task, click on the Transactions button. Choose Anniversary Charges. To create anniversary charges, choose the charge category and income program that will be assigned to the charge that will be created. Under Enrolled In, choose which enrollments the system will consider when determining if a student is active or not. You can choose to look at class enrollments only, camp enrollments only, or any enrollment at all. This is the default setting. On the Student Active filter, choose the appropriate option based on how you want the system to consider active enrollments. The system uses the Student Active As of Date as the starting point to see if the family or student has been charged within your anniversary time frame. If In the Month Of is selected, it uses the last day of that month. For example, if the charge date is February 1st, the system will use the date of February 1st as a starting point and count back the number of months established in your anniversary timeframe settings and produce a list of anyone who has not been billed. In Month Of, we'll look at all enrollments in the month you choose, regardless of whether the enrollment drops during the month or not. As long as the student was active at some point within the month, they will be considered active. As of Date, we'll look at all enrollments on the date you specify, and will ignore any enrollments that drop before that date or start after that date. The student must be active on the date you choose to be considered active. Specify the charge date and due date of the charge that will be created. If you charge tax for anniversary fees, check the Charge Tax box and choose the appropriate tax rate. If you want to charge all active families or students, regardless of whether or not they have been charged within your anniversary timeframe, you can check the Ignore Previous Anniversary Charges option to disable duplicate charge detection. If you would like to override your specified anniversary fee amount for all active families or students being charged, you can enter an amount in the Override Anniversary Fee field. This will not override the fee for customers who already have an override amount set on the family or student record. Once all of your options have been entered, click Preview to generate an Anniversary Charges preview. When the preview opens, you will see a list of all families or students, depending on your billing option, their anniversary charge eligibility date, last billed date, the amount they were billed, tax amount, and how much they will be charged. If you find any discrepancies, you may need to edit the family ledger to correct them. Then generate a new anniversary charges preview so the system will use the latest updates when calculating prices. Once the preview looks correct to you, you can process it by pressing the Process button at the bottom left-hand side of the list. When you process the preview, it places the charges on the family ledger but does not collect payments.